All right, hi everybody, and welcome to another installment of Ozzy and Keats. And usually I say we're just okay. I'm not sure that's the case this week. John Keating and Chris Osgood with you. We're going to be joined by Darren McCarty on this episode, former Stanley Cup champion and one of Ozzy's teammates. And we know that he will have stories. But Ozzy, as we join each other, I'm on the western side of Michigan. You are on the western side of Canada, and dear God, there are issues.
Yeah, what time is it now? 53. So that was 53 minutes of glory for you. Things didn't quite connect as always, but for you, you've been disconnected for how many years now? I'm not even sure how old you are, but it's been quite a while.
Yeah. All right. Well, and so there are some technical aspects of getting this podcast up and running, but we do it for you. We do it for the people. And that's why I don't have as much hair as I did maybe an hour ago. But
Well,
go ahead.
your pigment changed. You went from being calm
I
and
know.
you had a nice like demeanor to just beat red and steaming like a tomato. I
Well,
had to
yeah,
actually text you to tell you to relax. You
I
know,
know.
you
I know.
test age, want to get yourself, the blood pressure gets up and stuff. We got to make sure they even keel because things will work out no matter what. That's our motto.
I know. So some of that is going up and down the stairs and trying to find a spot where the internet actually works here. But
Yeah.
some of it's being out in the sun here in Grand Haven because we've had great days. We just don't have one here today. But Ozzy's place out in Western Canada looks absolutely spectacular. Tell us how you found that spot in which to spend your summers.
I had a friend out here that I golf with a lot, and Ken Holland, who we did have on our show um, this season, lived out here. He had golf tournaments, and I golfed a lot with Ken Holland growing up in Medicine Hat. Well, he's originally from here. I came out here, I believe it was 95, 96, quite a while ago. There's not much out here. It's a small town, and fell in love with it. And Jen and I decided to get a place here. Hopefully, one day land here full time. We got a lot of kids, so we can't do that right now. But they love coming out here. So we've been here now for 28 years. I can't believe it's flown by that fast, but we love it. It's a friend of mine that I golf with. He's a beauty. Like me, he's not all there either. He now chips with one arm. That's how bad his game's gotten, and I'm headed in that direction too. I'm chipping on one leg, so golf isn't what it used to be. But this place is great to come to, and I'm fired up that we finally got connected, so we can get this show going.
But it's all hockey players out there, right? I mean, it's a whole collection of people connected with the NHL.
Yeah, quite a bit. And Kelowna is about 30 minutes away from here. There's a lot of guys there. A lot of guys train here because it's nice. So, where my son was yesterday, went out there and there's a goalie. I trains goalies where Hellebuck goes there and Skinner goes there. James Reimer, who played for the Red Wings, went there for years. So he's trained a lot of NHL goalies. So it's kind of cool to go out there and see those guys.
Can we talk about your drive from the Detroit area to Western Canada? Because as I understand it, there might have been a stop along the way, and we have been able to obtain the video of that stop. And before you talk about what happened,
Yeah.
we just want to show the people who are enjoying the Ozzy and Keats podcast on video what exactly happened.
All right, just take a deep breath in there, tight seal, blow, keep going, almost there. So if the tongue gets in the way, the device is very sensitive.
That's when you had to blow into a device in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, in Saskatchewan, I was I didn't want to fully disclose. So my daughter Sydney puts an iPad and Velcros it to the dashboard, and so we watch the hockey game when we can get it, and it's on and off for that. But she'll put in movies, and of all things, she played Diary of a Wimpy Kid, episode 1 or movie 1, 2, and 3. So we're on the second one. It's a straight shot. Saskatchewan's. Have you been to Saskatchewan? Anybody that has knows the highways are straight. It's flat. You can see forever. It's hard to drive the speed limit. I just crossed the border in North Dakota for about 20 minutes, maybe, where the speed limit's 85 miles an hour. Now, obviously, you go to Canada and it drops and it changes kilometers. And kilometers an hour, 90, is slow compared to going, and it's straight, compared to the 85 miles an hour that is in North Dakota. So my foot never moved positions. I lost focus. I was watching Diary of a Wimpy Kid, which I shouldn't have been doing. I realized that's not good. I kind of moved my head and I blew by this cop on a straightaway. I could have seen him no problem. And it probably shook his car. I was going 130 and I don't speed a lot, to be honest. You know how slow I get. I move kind of methodically at times. So that's not me. So 130 by accident, and that's the truth.
130 kilometers. 130 kilometers, not 130 miles an hour.
Zone by then, so I was 130 kilometers an hour in a 100 zone, and I got a $206 ticket. I thought I was going to get off. By the way, he asked me where I was and what I was doing. I was telling him, and I told him I lost focus, so I knew you'd be surprised by that, which I did. Well, there's nothing around. It's a straight shot. I mean, the road goes straight for probably, if I went miles, 50 miles plus, so there's not much there. So anyways, but much to my unknowingly did I know this, but in Saskatchewan, there's a law now, which by the way, the population is maybe 1 million people in the entire province, that regardless of when you get pulled over, you have to blow. So, which I wasn't very good at. Obviously I was totally fine to drive with my daughter just across the border. So, that was an experience for sure. But I was kind of like, really? So if John Keating is driving at 7 a.m. and gets pulled over in Saskatchewan, he has to blow? No. Would I be surprised if there was a little bit on his breath? No, not at all. But it would kind of irritate me a little bit. But I get the other side of it is there's a lot of farms, a lot of back roads. It's a lot. So obviously the alternative is no good. So I didn't mind doing it. I found it a bit humorous. I wasn't good at it. He said my teeth were in the way. He said my tongue was in the way.
Your tongue was in the way, and I've told you that on TV many times. It's like, just move your tongue out of the way when you talk. We'd be fine.
Yeah, you know when you get pulled over sometimes, how you kind of think, like, it's a one way, so I'm going this way, he's going this way. How you kind of think to keep going, that maybe he won't turn around. It was so bad that I pulled over like immediately. It's like when we're doing our show and I just leave the stage knowing this is just an absolute train wreck tonight. I can't do this anymore. I just pulled right. Thinking that, I'm a good Samaritan. I'm not making him chase. Still got $206 ticket. Then I called in to pay for it, and my credit card kept getting denied. I was like, hey, you get bites.
Oh, geez.
So, that stuff, because I couldn't do it online. You know how bad I am online. So it was a pleasure. But anyways, we got it paid 2 days ago for me to avoid a jail in Saskatchewan, even if they have them there.
Oh, that would have been spectacular. You in jail in Saskatchewan? I mean, to leave British Columbia and have to report to jail in Saskatchewan? I would have been there to meet you.
I don't know how you guys get these photos and these pictures, but I think there's a satellite following me that you've somehow got a hold of, because there's a lot of pictures and it's inside jobs. You have now paid off my family or done something to send these videos to you. Yes. So it's good though. But I love that drive home. It's one of my favorite times of the year, and that's, I know, saying weird because it takes 3 days, but I grew up driving through those roads in Saskatchewan, playing in the Western Hockey League, and through Alberta. I get to stop where I grew up in Medicine Hat. So I love driving through South Dakota, Minnesota, and Dakota. So I enjoy that time of the season.
Well, shout out to Sydney Osgood for sharing her good fortune with the rest of us. So we would be able to see you blow into a device along a Saskatchewan expressway in which you were breaking the law.
Absolutely. Well, I'm glad to see that you have, not only I know that you like my demise and when stuff happens to me, but now you have of Jenna Osgood and the rest of my family to make sure that certain area of your life gets taken care of. So all videos and everything, there's more. They take them all the time when I'm doing stuff. So all you got to do is call. Well, I go back to the billboard that you did 5 years ago. Yeah. Of all the pictures he could have given you, now there are some worse, I'll admit it. There was a lot. But she gives you the one where I was emulating my daughter, Mackenzie, who was young, with a soother in my mouth.
A pacifier.
That's the pacifier. That's the one that soothes.
It ended up on, for those who don't know, we put it on 5 billboards around the Detroit area and at the top of the Hollywood Casino and on the
Lakeland. No, Lakeland was the mustache.
Lakeland ended up with one of them. It was on the front of the Fox Theater and of course Little Caesars Arena. I mean, there were a couple of different pictures that we did. I think what we've determined is that your family likes me more than they like you.
I think it's a resounding theme that you and your allies like when I get into pickles and stuff happens to me. I think
Yeah.
that's enjoyable most to you. And I get it. I don't mind. It's very innocent, and but I do run into those situations more often than I would like.
Well, a part of that is you have lived such a charmed life, and as we can see, behind you there in the palace in British Columbia, how well things have gone for you, and did in your hockey playing career as well. And as we were dealing with some technical issues, I will leave it at that, on
Mhm.
getting this podcast together in our current situations yesterday. Unbeknownst to me, the Hockey Hall of Fame announcements were coming out. And so you were preoccupied with that. And so I didn't even think about it till later, whether you might have been sort of, with an ear open for the phone, that they'd come to the correct conclusion that Chris Osgood deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame as well. Were you even aware of that?
In Canada, I am. They really they cover it way more here, obviously, than they would in the United States. So yeah, I was aware of it. Carey Price, who played in Montreal, he lives out here too. He didn't get selected either. It takes goalies longer, John. It's like you're still maturing. You're trying to get to where your peak. It's been a long time for you. You're getting a little better, but you get there, you fall back. You get there, you fall back.
It better hurry.
Jokingly aside, like Mike Vernon went in at, I believe, 62. I think he
Yeah.
was. I went a couple years ago, saw him there. It was a great event. For one reason or another, just goalies just take longer. So I'm hoping I started in 62 because if it's past 62, I'm going to need a lot of hands on deck. I'm going to need a speechwriter. I'm going to need a handler. I'm going to need a lot if that's the case. But hopefully one day, I'd be lying to say I didn't want to get in. I think it would be awesome. Yeah, for sure I do. And when I'm here, I do pay attention to it. But when I'm in Michigan, not as much. I'm here a lot earlier than I usually am. So yeah, I watched it the other day when they announced it. It was on the sports channel here in Canada. So and congratulations to those guys. I played against some of them. Joe Thornton's a great human being, a great player. So, but yeah, for sure, I'd be remiss or lying to you if I said, like most sports athletes, well, it doesn't really matter. I had a great career. It was great to play with the guys. No, I think it'd be great if one day I do watch when I focus. I lose it sometimes, but I do. I pay attention to it. So hopefully one day that happens, and hopefully sooner than later. So I have my wits about me a little bit. That'd be good.
Do you think, or do you worry about the fact that people have seen you on TV with me for about 10 years, and that might sort of take some of the luster off of your hockey career? That because of the things that I've said about you or to you might have somehow damaged your chances of getting into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
Like you're saying, this is the reverse Mickey Redmond, where he's in the Hall of Fame because he's been to such an outstanding announcer. Where I'm going the other direction as well. Nobody of any substance or any mind would be hanging around John Keating that much. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would guess. Yeah,
the chaos caused on TV. I mean, my favorite episode that a lot of people don't know was the last one we did when last day. You couldn't write it up. Mickey joined us with Stan your last day on the stage, and that was great with all the fans around us. But the stage broke. A lot of things happened that day that weren't planned. That's when they're at his best. So I truly love doing what I was doing with you, and hopefully you won't be there.
I don't.
Right.
Yeah, but you'll be fine. I'll be watching along with the rest of the people. And yes, it was very emotional. The last day at Little Caesars Arena, the Red Wings had surprised me and brought in the whole family. And there were what were there, 10 of us maybe on the stage. We're all posing for a picture, and the stage, which isn't used to having I guess 12 people on it at that time, buckled.
Yep.
So that was I guess probably sort of a an apt way to describe my career that it ended like that.
Yeah, that
With
was
you
one of
on
my.
the stage, with you on the stage and sort of sliding downward.
I always said that was one of my three scenarios of how your career was going to end. Is you're going to tip off the gate
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
concourse at the end, and it almost happened. Now, the only thing I was worried about because one of your grandchildren were with you, so now I did have some compassion for that.
I
But if
know.
you happened to not be, I would have been completely fine with you just kind of sliding off the back of that thing, and being it. Now that you're okay would have been key to the whole thing. But that was a great day. I mean, memorable game, memorable show for sure. Enjoyed everything, so it was great.
What does it say about our relationship that I want your career to end with you in handcuffs, and the same is true vice versa? That's the way that we should that we would want to see each other sort of end up, being led away in handcuffs by the popo.
I think I would. I have pictures like I've told you I found at home of us at the Joe Louis above the pizza kitchen where it
Yeah,
was sizzling. Lots of cool photos, but the one photo I would like more than ever is one with bars in front of you. That would be
a
my
booking
favorite. Like
a
you're
booking
holding the.
photo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Osgood's here to pick you up, John, and I would snap a photo, and it would
And
be
I
like
would
right
say,
here, where
and
right
I
here.
would say, if Mr. Osgood is there to pick me up, I would say to the police, "No, thank you. I'll wait for the
Oh,
next one.
you
I'll
would
wait for the
deny
next
it.
one to get me." Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God,
I would deny the ride. So,
that can't happen.
all right, we have Darren McCarty who is set to join us, and let's bring him in now because he is
There he
your
is.
former teammate, 15 years in the National Hockey League, 13 of those with the Red Wings, and so Mac joins us now. All right, and there he is, a sight for sore eyes. There is our good pal Darren McCarty, former Red Wing, former Stanley Cup game-winning, goal-scoring hero. As we begin, how's life these days, Mac?
Well, and it's how even like everybody not it's out there. Everybody knows that they look what I'm doing. I think how's life for you in retirement? Because this is sort of new to you. And even though in my retirement I'm a lot busier than I am, it's nice to be able to, I always talk with Ozzy and always catch up, but also you now that you're not all dialed in as the voice of the Red Wings. So maybe I'd like to start this interview. You tell me how retirement is.
Well, I've told many people this. It's going to be a Dateline episode. My wife's going to shoot me dead in the driveway because she's not used to having me around all the time, and that's been the case. So Keith Morrison is warming up his pipes to get ready for that episode of Dateline. But I will, as we get going. Ozzy shared with us a story going back to your days in Glens Falls when you guys were teammates with the Adirondack Red Wings, and you were living in the same apartment complex. Ozzy, you want to take the story from there?
Back then, Mac, remember it was all veteran guys, so the only young guys were what me, you, Jamie Pusher, was Marty Lapointe, right, and Drapes. Was that right?
No, it was you, me, right, and you were rooming with Mike Castleman. But we had remember Jimmy Birmingham.
Oh yeah,
Jimmy Birmingham. We were the young guys,
yeah.
right? So you and Cass lived downstairs, and I lived upstairs with the mother of my children. But it was all the veterans all around. So every night, like we've been hanging out since we've been 20 years old, but we would usually end our nights down at your place, absolutely battling in Sega Genesis, like 94 hockey. I had Chicago.
Yeah.
You had Vancouver. Cass had Washington. We'd spit. So I wasn't a bit. Yeah, thanks to the miners, I started chewing tobacco. But at the time, we were doing sunflower seeds, and we'd have Gatorade bottles that we tape up, right, with the Stanley Cup champions on each series that would win, that we put our names on, but we'd be spitting seeds in the other ones. And usually the night ended, John, because my fiance would be kicking the roof in for me to come to bed because it was like 4 or 5 in the morning, because we would just sit down there and just, have ourselves a time. that I remember that Ozzy, like now that it's shish 33 years later, just as it was yesterday.
Now that was quite the place. Bunch of snow. You get snowed in, you'd have to like dig a tunnel almost to your front door at the Mohican there in Glens Falls, New York. But what a time that was, and certainly grew up fast there. Mac, you did a bunch of stuff. You've had a band. You're on you do comedy, wrestling. What's your favorite thing to do beyond hockey? What is your favorite thing to do? Darren McCarty, you got anything?
Well, you know, if you ask, and you got to caveat this, I've known who DMAC was since I was 6. It took me to 46 to meet Darren. In my 10th year of sobriety. And so if you ask Darren, the most important thing that I do right now is the Darren McCarty brand for the cannabis awareness, the health and wellness, the topicals, the sleep, all that stuff, the education, because it's allowed me to get to this point. And I needed, everything in recovery from Alcoholics Anonymous to the fact that I needed a garden in my program. And I'm grateful for the people in Michigan, because I always say, no matter what, you care about your neighbors, and because of the love of each other. And I fell into it because of how we view cannabis in this state, and the ability for me to be able to get healthy through this plant. So that's Darren's number one focus, right? That's my legacy. I want my legacy to be what I've done in my philanthropy for helping like veterans and helping people, and what I've done in cannabis. And then, you beat up a guy one time and won 4 Stanley Cups and scored a goal. That's how I want. But if you ask me that's important to do. But now, since I got the Dry Time Wrestling Academy and being able to help do that, not just with, training, hopefully some of the next people that will make wrestling their livelihood and stuff, but also with the kids camps and the education and sort of the community side of that. That's the fun part. And man, that DMAC loves that, just to be around and watch, because it's all about, like, Ozzy, you get this. We've achieved our dreams. We've been able, the opportunity that other people have given us, the gateway for us to be able to pull ourselves through it and to work and accomplish what we accomplished to be professional hockey players. Well, I just want to be able to sort of, have an influence in the way that it's sort of done, and give these kids, men and women, an opportunity. How I look at it right now is that I'm trying to develop the, for lack of a better term, the U18, U.S. development program in Plymouth, what it does for hockey. I want to do that for wrestling here in the state of Michigan and down in Southern Line, Michigan. So those are the two, for me, biggest priorities. And obviously that goes with the caveat is as long as it doesn't get in the way of my golf game.
Well, let me ask this question, and I'm not there's zero judging here, but for those of us who are aware of your path, and we're proud of you for putting alcohol in the rearview mirror. But isn't there something called like green alcoholism? I mean, we're basically you've traded one something to make you feel better for something else to make you feel better. Take me through the dichotomy that exists between alcohol and cannabis.
So there really is no dichotomy when it comes to me, John, because you know what? If I truly want somebody to get better and it's not harming them, which is why we get into now, why it's 2025. And anybody that wants to have this argument about, cannabis is a gateway drug or whatever. No, come on, man. Like alcohol and the pills and the prescription era that we've been through and stuff like that. I'm not the person to play that game with. I also have all the education behind me and stuff like this. But what I found is that the medicinal benefits of this plant has not only physically helped me get the addiction at the early part of alcohol, right? To calm down, but also sleep was a big part. So the CBNs and stuff. So my thing with the brand is I stand out in front of it, and I will, like, what I always say is, imagine this. You saw what I did, right? To protect my teammates and somebody that I love that was wronged in Chris Draper, and that's to Claude Lemieux. So imagine what I would do for something that saved my own life. And so that I serve this plant because of the truth and because of all this other stuff. You know, when you talk about California sober, I don't give a shit, John. I don't care as long as you're getting better and you're better than you were before and what's along the ways. And now that I have the education and can point it in the right direction of why that is, all this is, right? Like anything else, it's an option. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that they have the option, and then they can go whichever way they want to from it. I just thought the person that you come with all this and that and whatever, we're way beyond that. I'm all about that. I know I've been through every part. I mean, Ozzy can sit there. He's, one of my best friends and has known me the longest, has seen me through many inclinations of on alcohol and off alcohol or whatever. And the thing that I love the most is that I try to lead by example, to the fact that this is who I am and this is what I've done to be on my path. The education, the fact that I do have a dog in the fight, the fact that I do have the Darren McCarty brand so that I can bring education. And, the biggest thing for me is why I created like the topical. For the pain, it's actually the CBD hemp topical that has no THC and anything in it, just for the health and wellness, because we all have aches and pains, no matter what age you are. And if you can start with the conversation of, oh, well, why would I rub that on my skin and it doesn't do anything to make, you alter your state, but it doesn't feel like wherever it was sore, it hurts. Why is that? And then you get into the conversation of that anything with a spine has an endocannabinoid system and it craves this plant. Common sense is in the cannabis world, right? So if you don't have common sense, you can't have this conversation because you have a system in your body that is strictly for this plant. Now it's your responsibility of what you put in because there's all different. So I guess it's one of those things, John, that I fought this, and I wasn't always this way. It's when they tried to shove all the pills through all the surgeries back in the mid 2000s that I couldn't do it. And somebody, had given me the alternative. Because whether people know it, I never started smoking weed or using it until I was like 27. Right? I'll attest to that. I was never the smoker back in the day. I'd smoke cigarettes and be both there drinking beers, hiding at the corner of the bar doing shots, hiding from drinks because the guys only wanted me to stay to beers. If I stayed with beers, I'd be fine, but that wasn't me. And then it'd be gone. I mean, there's so many great stories of that. So I think in 2025, it's like people are sick and tired of being sick and tired and they want to have a conversation and they see somebody like myself who all you got to do is go back to pictures 10, 15 years ago of how unhealthy I was to where I am now. When you want to say, wow, D-Mac, what did you do? So that's what I'm here. I'm here just for the ones that have the questions and want to do the work, not for the ones who don't. And God forbid the ones that don't or are still stuck back in the old fear. And this is like the misnomer, because the fact, John, to answer your question, the bottom line is the education's changed. So don't be oblivious to the education. And it's all about, at the end of the day, remember what I said, it's all about, do you know you have an option? The minute you tell me yes, I move on. Do you know you had an option? Because I didn't know I had an option and it almost cost me my life.
The three of us go back a ways, and I want to work Ozzy in here, but you brought it up in there that it was you protecting the back of Chris Draper for a lot of people have certainly seen the video, are aware of the story. What I want to know, and I'm not sure I ever asked you this, what was the conversation that you had with Claude Lemieux March 26th of 1997 when Joe Louis Arena pretty much exploded?
There was never a conversation, but you got to understand this where everybody wants to know the gravity, and Ozzy can speak to it, whatever, is that, for up until the first, until Drake's got married and whatever like that. But the three of us, me, Ozzy, and Drake, were three peas in a pot, you know, and then Maltz came in and Marty was always in, the younger guys and stuff like this. So like, I mean, we're as close to brothers as it was. So when all that stuff happened, that night, like, and the gravity of the whole situation about anything being said is nothing was ever said between anybody on our team in the conversation, except when I got Drakes out of the hospital 2 days later after the incident happened. I just said, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And that's it. And everybody just sort of knew. And, you know, if something was going to go down, you hear guys talk about it. It was sort of like I was going to get first crack, but nothing was said. And that's why it's like the perfect storm, like the God shot, karma, whatever you want to call it, the way it started, that, you know, it's not always your strongest or your fastest, but it could be your eldest or your wisest. And Larry Otto starting it. So all that stuff went on, you know, Verney clicks in, the goalies are fighting. It wasn't, nothing was ever said, John, until like that next year. I think it was November 11th, which is ironically my sobriety date, 11/11/15. But this is 11/11/97 when we faced off for the ESPN game. And he came up and lied beside me. And I pretty much just said everything that I would have been canceled for these days, as I thought of every derogatory, racist, French, you know, family, pets, you know, kids, siblings, anything. The worst things that I could ever say to that human being, I was saying that to that man at the draw, and Drake decided to win the draw, and then he decided to pelt me, and I was like, okay, he's gonna fight this time. So really, like, the irony is, Claude and I never really talked until there's a off the record Michael Landsberg edition, which was the day after St. Patty's Day in like 2014. So I was stunned by Bender that I was still drinking, so I wasn't impressed. But it's a great interview. And then to the point where we get to where we're at today, and everybody's seen Unrivaled and all these different things, I think that was important for the 25-year anniversary a few years ago, that I sat down with Claude Lemieux and did an interview, because like time had gone on to understand the gravity of what it is. And the best way I sum it up, John, is that if you're on the ice today with Claude Lemieux and you turn your back, you're an idiot. But off the ice, I'll turn my back. Now, that's my story. That's not Ozzy's story. That's not Drake's story. That's not anybody else's. But as a man, he's earned my respect, because I believe that he's realized what was wrong, or what you know, because it wasn't the fact as bad as the hit was, it was the fact of his reactions, that he didn't apologize and he didn't have respect for a fellow human being. So, you know, so as long as you don't do that, then your wife should not have a dateline. You should be all right. So stay within the guards, John.
Okay. Good advice. Thank you.
I don't know, he's pushing the envelope, Oz, but also I give you a little responsibility for that, because he's been hanging out with you for the past few years, and you know, you've got a number on him a little bit. He's learned how to fight on that. I'm proud of him, but you know, Ozzy's one of the, when it comes down to it, he's a cerebral assassin and always has been. Ozzy's greatest trick, I don't care what it is, his greatest practical joke is when he sews your car keys into your pants pocket, right? In your dress pants or your shorts or whatever. And it's all fun and games if it's nice out, right? You go to get them in, you got to rip your pocket out or whatever. But when it's like minus 20 degrees and you're a commando and you got your dress pants on, you got to strip down naked in the parking lot to get your keys out of your pocket and ruin a whole, like, you know, I'm good suit. Yeah, screw Ozzy, but
I forgot about
that.
Did you do that? Ozzy, did you do that?
100%. 100%.
That was his most, like huge. You want to think Ozzy is the best. And then you have this little minion Maltby, who Maltby is more like low key, like he knows how to avoid things. But Maltz would do things like, I'd always do a crossword or a Sudoku, like the USA Today one, leave it in the stall. It's just something like guys would do different things to pass time. You know, game day, and Maltz sat beside me, and he just put in letters or numbers just to mess me up, and it would always work because I'd be so frustrated. But That's what these guys, that a little bit inside the locker room back in the day.
Always the best. It was the best.
It was the best. Dude, I still can't believe that guy, that name we don't say, that he took down all those, like, Ozzy was the best at putting the heads in the magazines and the pictures, and he was seeing everybody sort of seeing them. But it was when I came back for the comeback in like '08 and stuff like this, dude, we used to sit back there and laugh.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
always, you gotta know with him, he's always gonna stick a new one in there that it's like a Where's Waldo. Like you put a new one in there or something like that. And, from Drake's Chuck Norris in Pittsburgh, right? To Walker, Texas Ranger, to Homer and Advocator's Dumb and Dumber and stuff.
Yeah.
To Bert, you always used to get Bert all the time. Those were great.
Off. It had a life of its own. Then the fans started doing it, and there's pictures of Drapes in the stands as Chuck Norris, right?
Oh, that would have to be in tears, bro. I think it was in Pittsburgh.
It was in Pittsburgh, yeah.
It was in tears, dude. It looked exactly like it with the cowboy hat and everything.
Mac, what did that look like when you came back to the Wings? Walk us through that. I thought that was really cool. I was there. We had a lot of good guys, but I remember you had that game at home at Joe Louis Arena, the great venue that was. You had a few goals that game, and the fans were going nuts. So break back to that, because that was kind of the second stage of a great career at the Wings that you did have.
I think it was like putting the band back together, right, Oz? Because you were back, like what I looked at, and I was coming off like my fourth rehab, and but I was getting my shit together, and I come back to Detroit after being in Calgary and stuff, and really just had got back, with Drake's and just said I knew I had something left, and I looked at your team, and I, because Pat and Hank and Nick and Homer and all the dudes, I was like, I need to get in that locker room, and I need to get in that locker room more so like for you. Like just to mess around. It's just so like, you gotta understand, it wasn't and Ozzy will probably tell you this too. The plan is that Dominic Hasek's gonna carry us through the playoffs, and like that was his start, but the supporting role. But to be back there in the locker room, just to be a support system and being able to play if called upon. So one of the coolest things was when I had gone through Flint and then gone to Grand Rapids and had success there and was getting called up as the first game that we played. It was against, I think it was St. Louis, but Babs started the grind line. So that was really cool. And then being able to prove to get in the lineup, because I was in the lineup for the first series against Nashville, that ended up scoring a goal. And then that's the series where you came in and there was a goalie change. And what I remember, and the thing that I took the pride of and I miss the most is because I was your warm-up guy. For practice and stuff, it was me, you, Shrimp Boats, Jimmy Bedard, the goalie coach, and then T-Mac, Todd McClellan, who's a coach now. It'd be the four, like us out there doing extra work or just getting you ready, because I mean, like I knew you forever, and I knew the way that how you like to be warmed up, and some guys just didn't know how you like to get your rhythm in and feel the puck, and I thought I took I cherished that role to be able to do that, to know what you wanted, and because it's like, dude, we just sit out there and we laugh, we put the work in, but we'd be just chuckling the whole time, right? Like, I mean, it was so much fun. So just to be able to do that, and then because of injuries to Homer and to the Mule in different series, I was able to play 17 games, and that was so awesome, just because that we did it again, right? It was like you see all these bands go for another tour at a reunion, and the great part is like we got one for Dallas Drake. Right, like we were all playing, and it was playing for the guys who didn't have one. But it was just so special, Ozzy, and just to be able to deal with the original guys again was awesome.
You mentioned Dallas Drake, because that was one of my favorite moments, was and wasn't, in Game 6 when they got the 5-on-3, and Dallas Drake and Chris Draper were in the penalty box, and I've never seen a look of more fear in my life on two guys, or just look like they're absolutely almost going to throw up, sitting in the penalty box in the 5-on-3. And Henrik Zetterberg had that absolute Hall of Fame shift 5-on-3. Was unbelievable. But Drapes tells a story of that. Oh my God. He said it was the longest 2 minutes of his life. and it was Dallas Drake as well. Remember Dallas Drake? He had his head buried in the bench the last 10 minutes. He couldn't even watch the game. So, I mean, think of the emotion that goes into it. And for him, it was just awesome. Awesome to see him.
But at the end of the day, Oz, you know, where it comes down to, you look at here's the one thing. We've had some unbelievable successful moments, and we've had some unbelievable freaking crappy moments that we've lost. So the fact that we did it, and the fact that you're there, and the fact that it's Hank and it's Rafi and it's Stewie and it's Croner and it's Nick, it's whoever was out there just doing whatever it took together, because those two guys, Chris Draper and Dallas Drake, are the guys with the biggest heart that would be doing whatever it took. So it goes to show you that, you know what I'm saying? It's a team effort, but to be able to kill that penalty for him, for all that, you should just say that you're even for all the rest of the stuff, right? You should have said to Drates after that, hey, we're even for all that other stuff.
Yeah.
You know, back in the days, right? Exactly. So, but that's what it was all about. I mean, and like, you'll never forget how it was apropos, not apropos to that puck to slide across, not across the goal line, but go through the crease right at the end. Of course, because that's the way we always do things, the hard way.
Well, let me jump in here. Let me jump in here because, of course, the most famous Darren McCarty probably hockey moment, aside from Claude Lemieux, was the goal that you scored in Game 4 that sealed the 1997 Stanley Cup, when you went inside and then outside of Yanni Nienema and then beat Ron Hextall. And as I'm watching the replay of that again today, one of the comments struck me, and I just started laughing out loud. It was about, this person said, it was about 5 minutes after McCarty scored that goal that my first child was conceived. That's how much it meant to hockey fans in Hockey Town. That was terrific.
Probably my favorite one is when they're doing the post-game interviews. There's like a 12-year-old kid and he's crying. And he's like, when McCarty scored that goal, I knew we had to do it, and we just had to do it. And I was thinking the same thing, right? But be honest, I beat one guy one-on-one my whole career, probably including practice. It's all timing, right? It's all like, when do you do it? When do you pull it out? So I have the biggest thing to me is the lesson for that one is I always believe in what do you put in to get out. And so the fact that the story behind that move was going to Sweden for a month, the 2 summers prior, working with Thomas Storm in hockey schools with 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds. No, I wasn't teaching. I was in the hockey school learning how to handle the puck. And one of the things that we did for 5 minutes at the beginning of every ice skating drill for a month, whatever it is, take the puck, pull it in, push it out, pull it in, push it out as you skate around the rink, just to learn control and stuff like that. And who'd have thought, and who would have known muscle memory that it came out in the biggest moment of all time. So I couldn't be grateful. I owe Eric Lindros a Christmas card every year because he scored with like 17 seconds left to make my Stanley Cup clinching goal, but we're all good with that.
All right, well, I'll jump in here. Mac, it's been terrific to just to reconnect with you on our goofy little podcast here. You meant a lot to Ozzy. You've meant a lot to me. We're proud of the path that you have sort of forged in finding your way back from some tough stuff, and we're thrilled that you found your way into media roles and now endorsements and wrestling and comedy, and Grindr is going to be heard from again. Listen, all the best, and thanks for joining us.
Well, these guys are killing it. Not only killing it with the guests, but everybody loves the fact that just that you two, no matter what, like it's the same thing. It's what hockey, you bring back the fun of what the hockey is to watch the game and all that stuff. And so all these conversations, boys, so keep killing it.
Darren McCarty joining us on Ozzy and Keats. We thank you for your time. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Ozzy and Keats is produced by Zachary Davis and Bill McAllister and proudly distributed by Podcast Nation in Troy, Michigan.